So I'll be presenting my capstone project in health informatics for HS650. My name is Daniel Jasso. My background is in data science, and I am an MSHI candidate. My project was with UCSF, the Department of Radiation Oncology, and the project name is Quality Improvement Dashboard. I want to thank UCSF for this opportunity, and my mentors, Dr. Alon Whitson, along with Professor Freddy Seba. So here's the agenda of what I'll be describing for my presentation today. So first of all, I make an introduction on what's the problem that we are trying to solve. First of all, the UCSF Department of Radiation Oncology have this EHR, which is called Mosaic, which is the oncology informatics systems that contains information for their corresponding patients. And over here, the scope of the project is to gather these metrics in order to be able to provide metrics for the Quality Improvement Committee internally within UCSF, as well as to be able to provide these metrics and to be able to fulfill the standards that ACR, the American College of Radiology, sets. So that's the idea and the goals that we're trying to solve for this context. Moving on, so how does this data is being processed? Well, the physician or physicist gathers the data for this patient, and this data is being stored in the database, either in a structured manner or unstructured manner, and this data is gathered together all in one. So our goal is to be able to gather this data and put it into one single report. This is a hard task to do, and we need to find a way to be able to visualize this information and to present in an eloquent manner. So how do we do this? So bringing back some slides or presentations that were mentioned in EMEA 2020 by Dr. Atul Butt. He explained a little bit about the data platform or where the UC Health system is moving towards to, where some of the tools that they use are these ones over here. So these tools that are provided over here, we use for our project purposes, Tableau and Microsoft SQL Server. So the pipeline, again, it allocates those specific components, which is Microsoft SQL, where our data source is being stored from the Mosaic database, and Tableau over here, which is split into two different products, the desktop version in order to be able to create visualizations and specify which specific data we want to visualize and to be able to develop these visualizations from scratch. In terms of Tableau Server will enhance data security in order to be able to only provide access to people within UCSF or any specific roles, such as people outside from ACR compliance, scalability and optimization in order to be able to visualize this information quickly. Front-end user experience in order to be able to provide users a better experience, and again, to be able to see these users with 1 or 2 clicks and scope down the information they wish to see. This information, these 3 components are provided into this chart, where we see that the blue area corresponds to the data source, the red one corresponds to the extracts of this data and where we're going to build these visualizations. And lastly, this green section corresponds to the live stream of this data through Tableau Server to our clients, where they will be able to interact with this data live or over here in a static manner in order to be able to get reports. What are the milestones and challenges of this project? Well, first of all, EHRs, as we know, they're complicated systems. We need to get familiar with the EHR in order to be able to scope down what are the metrics that we want to visualize. Once we have a good idea what we need to extract, then we will be jumping into the SQL world in order to be able to construct specific queries or custom SQL queries, as they named it in Tableau, in order to gather these metrics. And lastly, to be able to build these visualizations in an eloquent manner to tell the story of this data. These visualizations, again, it was a lot of user experience, was a better approach to be able to present this information and for the user to have context and to be able to just enhance them with just have one or two clicks and enable their data insights with just this shortcut of visualizations. So what are the solution and outcomes of this project? We're able to build a QI story and an ACR story. Why are they called stories? Because Tableau provides you the ability to present this information as if we were presenting in a PowerPoint slideshow. But the difference is that this story setting within Tableau allows you to present this information and interact with the data wherever the user hovers around or wherever they specify any filters. These are the different views that we generated for each story. And this is where the quality improvement committee will have access to all of these specific dashboards, and the ACR will have access to these specific ones. As you can see, the ACR has a more condensed version. So moving on, over here, I will demonstrate this live, this physician overview quality improvement dashboard, which comes in a quadrant format that gathers the SIM directive, plan directive, composite directive, and file format prior to the first fraction. And over here, as you can see on the right-hand side, here is the legend, where over here we see that it's approved prior to the first fraction, approved after the next fraction, unapproved or missing. And over here we have 4 filter menus. The first one that corresponds to a date range to specify what specific time we want to see. A date level selector, which specifies the granularity. It could be year, quarter, month, day. Normalize the data in order to be able to see this data in percentage. And lastly, the initials of the physician or physicist in order to be able to see what's their performance. And on top of that, if the user hovers to any particular area of a bar, they will be able to see the specific date. They will be able to see the status and as well as the count of that specific label or status over here of the fraction, as well as the overall total of that bar and the overall within this. As you can see, some of this data is hidden over here with these question marks, and also over here, this data, again, is fictitious data in order to be able to comply with PHI. And this is what I also talked with my mentor in order to be able to present this information. So over here, on top of this, if the user selects any particular area, such as this one of approve, they will be able to see this data, which is the specific year or date that the patient received the treatment, their corresponding names, and the site name or the region where they're receiving the treatment. So moving on, I'll jump into Tableau to present this dashboard. As you can see, here is the story that I mentioned that you can present in a slideshow format. I will just present this dashboard in order to not show any confidential information. So let's do an example. Let's say that I will focus my attention in physician number 30, which again, this is hidden data that I customize. And as we can see, as soon as I select a specific physician, the 4 views will change simultaneously. Let me scroll down a little bit so you can see it better. And over here, I can also specify, hey, I want to see only data from, let's say, 2020 until today. I'll be able to see all information from 2020 of this particular physician, which is physician number 30. Right now, the date level selector, the default is set to year. I can change it to quarter, or I could change it to month. I'll go ahead and change it to month. And as soon as I change it to month, of course, we'll be able to see 11 different bars over here. And lastly over here, the last filter that the front-end user has the ability to choose is this normalize, which will be able to see this information, but in a percentage format. So these are the capabilities that we developed, which are the same ones as this. Of course, there are some more advanced ones that, again, I'm not going to demonstrate in this presentation due to confidentiality purposes. Here's another snapshot or another interesting graph that we had over there, which is the image approval next prior to next fraction. As we can see, we see an improvement throughout time. And moving on to the front-end user experience, well, there's three important components I would like to mention. Once we developed these visualizations, it was important for us to put this in a secure format for our front-end users. And over here, Tableau Server will provide us with that, that customization, where we will assign different roles to different staff members at UCSF to be able to have access to these dashboards or to own specific views. So that's what Tableau Server brings to the table, as well as also scheduling extracts. So let's say that I want to do an extract of yesterday's data, and tomorrow in the morning, I will be able to see that information. Why are we generating extras? Well, because this is going to optimize the time of computation when we are selecting specific time ranges of data to visualize. And lastly, this graph summarizes everything together. The only important thing that I would like to mention is the gateway or load balancer that enables multiple users to see these dashboards at the same time. That could be on the desktop or on the mobile. So my suggestions for future development would be to move on and add to this pipeline maybe some Python or R code. Python could be because of the amazing NLP libraries that Python has and has available. So there's a table that contains some nodes over here within Mosaic. Maybe that will be a nice exploratory analysis to do some NLP over there. What about R? Well, maybe we could jump and do some predicting on healthcare appointments for patients. So those are my suggestions. Keep constructing on this pipeline and maybe jump into either of these programming languages, depending on which direction you want to go on. So that's my project. Again, I want to thank UCSF for this opportunity and my mentors who guided me through this process. Thank you.